What does it take to be the best quarterback in the world? Is it arm talent? The arm talent lets you throw a football 60 yards in the air while your body is falling sideways, while a 300-pound defensive end has his hand wrapped around your jersey, while the crowd is so loud you can feel it in your chest.
Quick throw. Tony's got it. Tony walks in. Touchdown, Kansas City.
Is it the football IQ? The ability to stand at the line of scrimmage, read 11 defenders in under 2 seconds, identify the one guy who's out of position by a half step, and put the ball exactly where only your receiver can get it? Or is it something harder to measure? Something that only shows up when the ankle is wrong, the deficit is real, and the team that you beat twice in a row is standing on the other side of the field in January? In 2022, Patrick Mahomes answered that question. He answered it in the regular season with a completely rebuilt offense and zero margin for doubt. He answered it in the divisional round on one working leg against the Jacksonville team that refused to go away. He answered it in the AFC Championship, hobbling around a pocket that kept collapsing against a Bengals squad that had his number 2 years running. And he answered it in Glendale, California, down 10 at halftime in the Super Bowl, with the best defense in the NFC lined up across from him. He answered every single question they asked, and then he asked one of his own. How do you stop a man who won't stop?
Mahomes looking that way, throwing that way. Kelsey got it! Touchdown!
Before we talk about 2022, you have to understand what Patrick Mahomes walked into every single morning that year. By the time the 2022 season kicked off, Mahomes had already done more by 26 years old than most quarterbacks accomplish in an entire career. 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 championship, 2 MVP awards, a contract that shattered every financial record in the history of professional sports. He wasn't just the best quarterback in the league. He was the standard by which every other quarterback in the league was being measured. That is a brutal place to live, because here's what nobody talks about when they talk about generational talent. The pressure doesn't go away after the first ring. It doubles, and then it doubles again. Win a Super Bowl, and the question is immediately, but can you repeat? Losing the AFC Championship, and suddenly the dynasty is crumbling. Throw for under 300 yards in a regular season game, and there are takes about whether he's slipping. Mahomes couldn't just be Patrick Mahomes. He had to be more than Patrick Mahomes every single week. And on top of that, the Chiefs had lost Tyreek Hill in the offseason. Gone to Miami, the most dangerous deep threat in the NFL. The player opposing defenses had spent years building their schemes around neutralizing, packed his bags. The offense that everyone thought they understood was now a question mark with a brand new identity to build. Nobody in the league was going to give Kansas City an easy day. What Mahomes did is the reason we're here.
Mahomes looking that way, throwing that way. Kelsey got it! Touchdown!
The 2022 Kansas City Chiefs were not supposed to be this clean. Without Hill, the conventional wisdom was that the offense would take a step back. Defenses would crowd the middle, suffocate Kelsey, and dare Mahomes to find answers through just receivers nobody had heard of. It was a completely reasonable expectation. It just happened to be completely wrong. What Mahomes did instead was something that separated him from every other quarterback in the conversation about the greatest of all time. He didn't just make new weapons work. He made them look indispensable. Travis Kelce became the most unstoppable weapon in football, finishing the season with over 1,000 yards receiving. Juju Smith-Schuster, written off by the league, a guy people thought was finished, had his best year in years. Jerick McKinnon came out of nowhere to be one of the most versatile weapons out of the backfield anyone had seen all season. Mahomes built a new offense in real time in front of everybody, and it was arguably more dangerous than what they had before because nobody knew how to stop it. The regular season numbers were staggering: 5,250 yards passing, 41 touchdown passes, 12 interceptions, a passer rating of 105.2. The Chiefs finished 14-3. They won the AFC West. They had home field advantage. And once again, nobody cared because the expectation wasn't competing. The expectation was winning it all. So the regular season ended, and the real story was about to begin. The divisional round against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Fourth quarter, Mahomes rolls out on a designed scramble and comes down awkwardly on his right ankle. He went to the ground, stayed there a moment. Trainers came out, and then he walked back to the huddle. Not hobbled, not helped, walked. And then proceeded to do what Patrick Mahomes does, which is complete passes, manufacture yards, and win football games on an ankle that would have ended most players' afternoons right there on the turf. He finished the game. He threw for 331 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Chiefs won 27-20. But the real question hanging over everything was what it meant for next week. The x-rays weren't clean. The high ankle sprain diagnosis that came out in the days following was the kind of injury that sidelines players for weeks, sometimes months. The AFC Championship was 6 days away, and Patrick Mahomes had no intention of sitting down. What came next is the part of this story that needed its own chapter. January 29th, 2023, Arrowhead Stadium, AFC Championship game. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Cincinnati Bengals, the team that had ended their season the year before, the team that had beaten them in back-to-back postseasons and was playing with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing they can do it again. Mahomes warmed up on an ankle that wasn't right. Everybody in the building knew it. The broadcast showed it. The medical staff knew it. Mahomes knew it. He played anyway. Not in a limp around and manage mode. Not in a hand the ball off and hope the defense carries you mode. He played like Patrick Mahomes. He threw for 326 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns. He ran for 69 yards on an ankle that had no business carrying him 10 feet, let alone 69. Every time the pocket collapsed, and it collapsed often, he scrambled, extended plays, bought time, and found receivers. He was the most important player on the field, and he was doing it on one leg. The Chiefs won 23-20. Mahomes was going to the Super Bowl. And if the AFC Championship was the statement, Super Bowl 47 was the closing argument. The Philadelphia Eagles were the best team in the NFC. Jalen Hurts had been extraordinary. Their offensive line was the most dominant in football. Their defense was fast, physical, and built to disrupt. They were favored by the spread coming in. And for a week leading up to the game, the conversation kept coming back to the ankle. Whether Mahomes was really healthy enough to go toe-to-toe with a team this good for 60 minutes. He answered that question immediately. Mahomes carved up Philadelphia from the jump. He was surgical in the first half, finding Kelsey on crossing routes, hitting receivers in stride on deep crossers, converting third downs that should not have been convertible. By halftime, the Chiefs trailed by 10, a 24-14 deficit, and everything in the building was starting to feel familiar in the wrong way. The Eagles were playing their best football. It felt, for a moment, like it might slip away. And then, the second half happened. Kansas City outscored Philadelphia 24-11 in those final 30 minutes. Mahomes finished with 182 passing yards in the second half alone. He ran the ball when he had to. He extended plays when the pocket broke. He found Kelsey in the middle of traffic and Sky Moore on a jet sweep that turned a field goal into a momentum-breaking score. With the game on the line, fourth quarter, one of the most scrutinized plays in Super Bowl history arrived. A holding penalty in the end zone that gave Kansas City a safety and flipped the field position. Football is ugly sometimes, but Mahomes didn't need it to be pretty. He had outplayed the opposition from wire to wire. Final score, Chiefs 38, Eagles 35. Patrick Mahomes had his second Super Bowl ring, his second Super Bowl MVP award. and a performance produced on a surgically questionable ankle that made it impossible to argue with his place in the conversation. When the final whistle blew on Super Bowl 47,
and the Kansas City Chiefs have won Super Bowl 57.
and the confetti came down on Glendale, Arizona, the immediate reaction from a lot of people was essentially, yeah, of course. Of course Mahomes won. That's what he does. And that reaction, well-meaning as it was, kind of missed the point. Because here's what the casual telling of this story leaves out. Mahomes won this championship without the most explosive offensive weapon from the previous era. He built a completely new identity around an offense that defenses had never seen before and had no film to prepare for. He played the two most important games of the year on a compromised ankle that required daily treatment just to stay functional. He came back from a double-digit deficit in the biggest game of the year against a team that was arguably his toughest Super Bowl opponent. None of that is easy. None of that is routine. None of that is of course. The numbers tell the story plainly. Mahomes finished the postseason having thrown for over 1,000 yards across 3 games. He threw 5 touchdowns. He ran the ball for over 100 yards combined, much of that on a bad ankle, because the situation demanded it and he answered. He did not have a bad game. He didn't have a game where you looked at the stat line and winced. He was exceptional in every single one. The conversation around quarterbacks and greatness has been turbulent for a generation. You spent the better part of 20 years watching Tom Brady, and the bar he set felt unreachable. Then Mahomes arrived and started stacking rings at an age where most quarterbacks are still trying to figure out their first. The conversation didn't end. It just shifted. What 2022 told you, what it really told you if you were paying attention, is that Mahomes isn't just great when everything's going his way. He's great when the ankle is wrong and the offense is new and the deficit is real and the opponent is the best team you've seen all year. That version of greatness is rarer. It's harder to manufacture. And it's the version that separates the very good from the genuinely all-time. Here's what I keep coming back to when I think about Patrick Mahomes and the 2022 season. He won a championship the hard way, without his best weapon from the dynasty's first chapter, with an ankle that required the kind of daily maintenance that makes grown men wince, against a Bengals team that had beaten him twice and believed they could do it again, against an Eagles team that was the best complete roster he had faced in any Super Bowl. If Mahomes plays the same game in the second half of Super Bowl 47 and the Eagles hold on for a 3-point win, we're telling a completely different story. We're asking whether the ankle cost him. We're asking whether the offense without Hill had finally hit its ceiling. We're having the entire conversation about whether the dynasty had peaked. Instead, the second half happened. The Chiefs won, and the dynasty didn't just survive, it got stronger. That's what tends to disappear inside the convenience of his greatness. The idea that because Mahomes wins, the winning must have been easy. That because he makes it look like art, the brushstrokes must have been effortless. They were not. The 2022 season was the most difficult he had ever navigated, the most uncertain, the most physically compromised, the most structurally reinvented. He went 14-3 in the regular season. He went 3-0 in the playoffs. He threw for 5,250 yards and 41 touchdowns. He ran on one good ankle through 2 postseason games that would have finished lesser players. And when it was over, he stood on the confetti-covered turf in Glendale holding the Lombardi Trophy and looked completely unsurprised. That's the most terrifying part. Patrick Mahomes in 2022 was not the flashiest version of himself. He was the most resilient. And that version, broken ankle, new weapons, backed against the wall, turned out to be the most dangerous version of all. The year everyone assumed was inevitable. The year that was anything but. Drop a comment. Is 2022 Patrick Mahomes the greatest single-season performance in NFL quarterback history, or does someone else take that crown? We might cover it next.